All right, Virginia Tech at North Carolina. It is not too early, in my opinion, to call this the game of the year in terms of the ACC Coastal Division title. I think the winner of this game, the winner, by the way, will be North Carolina and Butch Davis. The winner of this game goes on to represent the Coastal Division in the ACC title game. I like North Carolina.
Well, let's clear something up. The only person luring kids anywhere right now is Dole with that hard hat he was wearing in our last segment. But I like this Gates to Tate combination. The quarterback Gates to the wide receiver Tate for North Carolina looked really impressive against Rutgers. They've hooked up 3 times so far for touchdowns. I like North Carolina knocking off Virginia Tech. 2 years ago, you told me this. It's a laughter for Virginia Tech, but North Carolina under Butch Davis comes into its own this weekend. North Carolina over Virginia Tech.
I think we can't overlook, though, Virginia Tech left for dead on this show, and they come back and beat Georgia Tech, big-time win to keep their ACC title hopes very much afloat. Nonetheless, I like North Carolina. We travel west now. Tempe, Arizona, Saturday night, primetime game on ABC. Georgia heads west for the first time anybody can remember to play Arizona State. The Bulldogs ranked number 3. Coming off the loss to UNLV, Arizona State is now unranked. What do we see?
What we mentioned, just an embarrassing loss for Arizona State last week. They were looking ahead, in my opinion, but they have a chance to catch a Georgia team, maybe reeling from a tough game last week, maybe a little worn because of travel, but when you look at Georgia, you've got their Heisman candidate, Noshawn Moreno, already has 7 touchdowns and 46 carries tested so far. You've got Matthew Stafford and A.J. Green averaging 17.6 yards a catch. I really like the firepower that Georgia has and the defense and that speed that they're going to have coming out of the SEC. I like Georgia pretty big over Arizona State this weekend.
I think Arizona State has a chance to keep this game close through 3 quarters, but in the end, speed and depth prevail, and the Bulldogs pull away in the 4th quarter. I like Georgia, 3-touchdown win. Wake Forest, 18th ranked Demon Deacons, head south to Tallahassee for a Saturday night showdown against the Seminoles. Doak Campbell will be rocking. Will the Seminoles escape with a victory, though?
I think when you have to look at Wake Forest so far, just a proven team, and that's something you wouldn't say about the Demon Deacons in the past, but they have a tough-fought win over Ole Miss, win with a last-second field goal. We've already talked about my feelings on Sam Swank. I'm a real big fan of you, Sam. But when you look at Wake Forest, they don't have the tradition and the pride on the line that Florida State does. Florida State has a lot to prove this weekend. So I think I'm sticking with you, Bobby Bowden, for one more game. Let's go Noles. They knock off Wake Forest this weekend.
Listen, Wake Forest, as you said, very deep in experience, and I think they are a solid football team. In my opinion, they are the favorite in the ACC right now, and tradition only does you good up until kickoff. And right now, FSU, they're in a position where if they win this game, they've got a good chance with all these conference opponents coming into Doak Campbell to do something, but I just don't see them getting it done. I think they're still maybe a year or 2 away. They are getting some depth on both sides of the ball in terms of recruiting. But right now, I like Wake Forest. I like the Demon Deacons to win, probably a touchdown or less. I do like them winning that game. Number 4 ranked Florida heads north to take on Tennessee.
On paper, this is an absolute massacre. But, listen up. In the SEC, there is pride on the line every week, and especially in these rivalry games. We looked at Georgia getting over the hump, knocking off Florida last year. Florida, 3 years in a row, has knocked off Tennessee. Absolutely embarrassed them last year. I think pride is on the line. Tennessee keeps this game very close. I would love for you, Tennessee, to upset and have just a big win, but I don't think they get it done so far. Maybe got another chance with Auburn next week, but I think Florida squeaks by Tennessee, which is all you have to do to get a win. Florida knocks off Tennessee this week in Neyland Stadium.
Listen, I mentioned Tennessee got half 100 dropped on them by the Gators last year, 59-20. I don't think Tennessee's gotten 39 points better. In fact, I think Florida has gotten better. Tennessee, a program still in a state of flux. We don't really know what to expect from the Volunteers week to week, and that is not something that is conducive to winning in the SEC week in and week out. All right, our spotlight game, Saturday night, ESPN 7:45. LSU heads into Auburn to take on the Tigers. We mentioned squeaking by Mississippi State last week, 3-2 win, but Tommy Tuberville has been known, after maybe a poor showing one week, to turn his team around and surprise everybody with a big win the next week. Do we see it happen Saturday night?
I'm going to need you to do me a favor, cameraman. Zoom this thing in on me really quick. I've got something I need to say to somebody. Tony Franklin, you were quoted this week as saying, "We're close on offense. It's scary how close we are." You want me to tell you what's scary? Scary is looking at you on the sideline. I was absolutely embarrassed at what went on the field in Mississippi State. You were brought in to bring in this revolutionary offense. You want me to tell you what you're close to? You're close to coaching junior high football in the middle of Kansas somewhere. That is terrible and it's embarrassing, and it has to get better if Auburn wants a prayer to do anything in the SEC this year. That's all I have to say to you right now.
Are you hot right now?
It's just embarrassing when a top-tier SEC school has an offensive showing like that. It's awful.
Somebody lost some money last week. Listen, I won't mention the name of the blog, but when you have a popular Alabama blog mentioning your offensive coordinator as a nervous, sweaty alcoholic on the sideline, it does not bode well for your program. Listen, all kidding aside, Auburn faced a great defense last week at Mississippi State, but they ain't faced anything all year like they're going to face Saturday night when the Bayou Bengals roll into town. LSU, except for the quarterback position, and I'm not going to talk badly of Andrew Hatch because we really don't know what he's made of so far. LSU has rolled in every game they've played so far. You know, Jordan Hare, Saturday night, hostile environment. I really think this is interesting. I can't see Tommy Tuberville letting this go on 2 weeks in a row. You know, that program has been the model of stability and consistency. That being said, I see a talent decline maybe at Auburn, and I don't think right now the offense, you mentioned Tony Franklin trying to run, I don't think you have, whether you look at offensive linemen, the quarterback position, or maybe skill set wide receivers, I don't think you have the players conducive to running that type of offense. And I think you're going to see these kind of struggles all year. Auburn's not going to hang 50 and 60 a week like you see at maybe Texas Tech and Missouri. They're going to have to get by on defense. The only weakness I maybe see at Auburn defensively is that secondary, and believe me, it will be tested Saturday night. I like LSU.
Well, let's look at some numbers really quickly. At the quarterback position, LSU, you've got Andrew Hatch and Jarrett Lee. So far, 402 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions so far on the year. You look at Chris Todd for Auburn, 472 yards passing with a touchdown and 1 interception. So really not a big advantage there. We've talked really badly about Auburn's offense, but Ben Tate, 278 yards, Brad Lester, 148 yards. And really, you look at LSU, Charles Scott, 262 yards. Yeah, it's impressive, but nothing that really jumps out at you. LSU is untested. They've beaten Appalachian State in North Texas. And we talked about this last week with Auburn. When you go on the road in the SEC, conference rivalry game at night, it's a different situation. But what it ultimately boils down to is points. LSU 82 points in 2 games, Auburn 64 points in 3 games. Auburn with costly penalties and fumbles so far. However, you look at Tommy Tuberville coming through in big-time win situations. You've got 2 years ago, lose to Arkansas when we go in and knock off Florida in a dramatic win last year. Beat Florida again, last year. I think that Auburn comes out, maybe doesn't look great on offense, but they mix in a little Cody Burns. They come out with a couple of surprise trick plays. And you talk about that secondary, Gerard Powers and Walter McFadden both have a pick already. I think Auburn, very, very close, surprises me and you because really we like LSU. I think Auburn comes out with a little something special in Jordan Hare Saturday night, knocks off LSU. I like Auburn. I think they maybe come out and surprise us Saturday.
I tell you, you're in the minority right now because Vegas released the line Sunday night. Auburn instilled as a 1.5 point favorite. That has since jumped 5 points, and LSU is now favored by over 4. So that gives you a little sense of where the public's going. Nonetheless, it should be a great weekend of games. Finally, some meaningful conference games. Until next week, for Jeremy, Doyle, I am Josh. Enjoy your weekend, enjoy the games, and we will see you here next week.
Rolling down a backwoods Tennessee byway,